Hello people, I'm Jaby Koay, joined by Natasha Martinez.
Hello.
And we're looking at 11 proofs India is not like any other country. This is from Brightside, the YouTube channel with 37.2 million subscribers.
Whoa.
And they got a nice little introductory description here. It says, India. It's a country of great wisdom, incredible history, ruins of ancient cities, eastern spices, delicious tea, and a beautiful nature. India gave the world a great civilization. You will never want to leave it. However, when you have to do that, don't forget to exchange your rupees. No one is allowed to take them out of the country.
Oh.
So, here we go.
Hey everybody, simple question for you. Who doesn't love traveling? Well, I sure do, and I've been to a lot of different countries. But there's one that will stick with me forever, India. Like I said, I'm pretty well traveled. I like to go abroad at least once a year, so I've got a lot of trips under my belt. But when a friend told me that I just have to see India, well, that's exactly what I did.
I thought that was him for a second.
I went in September, the last month of the summer monsoon. It was pretty dry and sunny, but with short rains here and there. The perfect weather for a traveler, if you ask me. Being the confident and well-experienced globetrotter that I am, I went there prepared.
Oh, is this him?
And I thought I was ready for anything. Boy, was I wrong.
Or is that just stock footage?
I think it's stock footage.
I think so too.
The pace, the people, everything hit me like a ton of bricks and didn't let go even when I was already back home. As soon as I stepped out of the airport, I felt dizzy. It could have been the heat, the jet lag, or the hunger in my belly. I assumed it was the latter, so I decided to head out for some authentic Indian food as soon as I throw my bags in my hotel room. Now, the food there deserves a big shout out. First of all, Indians eat very little meat. In fact, they have the lowest meat consumption per person in the world. Most of their dishes are vegetarian, and meat is replaced with soy meat. This is mostly because 80% of the population is Hindu. Probably like you, I'd always heard that Hinduism requires a strictly vegetarian diet, but that's not the case. It's just because they believe not eating meat minimizes the hurt they bring to other living beings. That's definitely one of the things I learned during my travels, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Why that?
Stock footage.
Why that stock
I
footage?
know, he looked
in India
upset.
is that it's all heavily spiced. That comes as no surprise, really, since India is well known across the world as the biggest spice producer and exporter.
Spicy.
But there's one region that stands out exclusively in this regard, the state of Kashmir. It's home to the most valuable spice ever, saffron. Sure, this flower isn't unique to India. It also grows in Iran and Spain. Kashmir, however, produces the highest quality and the most expensive saffron in the world. The town of Pampore is literally built around saffron fields. There are actually 3 varieties cultivated there. There's Mongra, the most expensive one, that costs about $1,600 a pound. Then you've got Lacha, which, interesting enough,
$1,600
is
a pound?
less pricey,
Jesus.
$1,000 per pound. Yet saffron farmers say it's the purest. And finally, there's Zarda. It's the cheapest, but only compared to other varieties, because $250 a pound isn't exactly what I call cheap.
Wow.
Anyway, India's spice game is definitely on point.
I bought
found a
saffron
good
once,
place
like
to
a little
eat,
thing.
and
It's
as soon as
really
I saw
expensive.
the menu,
Damn,
I
I had no
remembered that
idea.
Indian is also famous for its large variety of teas, or as the locals call it, chai. You should see the sheer number of options. I never thought there could be that many types of tea. If you're a tea drinker, I'm sure you know Darjeeling and Assam. But have you ever heard of Karnataka or Kangra? Does Munnar ring a bell? I don't blame you. I had no idea that these kinds exist either, and those are just the tea-producing regions. There's even more once you get into the types of chai by adding particular spices and herbs. Take, for example, masala chai, which is made with cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and herbs. I personally fell in love with butter tea. It's so thick and creamy, I could drink it by the gallon. Basically, you take tea leaves, some butter, hot water, and salt. Mix it all up and thank me later.
Also, that just sounds not, I mean.
It sounds like something else.
Yeah.
Plenty of chai pumping through my veins. I was ready for some sightseeing. I landed in New Delhi, so I spent the rest of the day walking around and taking in all the sights. Whenever I go abroad, I like to carry a little phrase book in the local language. Well, if you ever find yourself in India, you're gonna need a really big book because there are actually 22 officially recognized languages there. English is among them, so I was okay just sticking to that. But those 22 official languages are just a drop in the huge linguistic ocean of the country.
Yeah.
By different accounts, there are from 122 to 300 major languages spoken in India, as
Wow.
well as up to 1,600 lesser known ones. Basically, if you travel from one town to another, you'll hear people talking a different language. And if you happen to go to another state, you can forget everything you might have learned in your previous location. How they manage to communicate with each other is still beyond me. New Delhi was
Those
awesome.
common languages
I
that
wish
they
I could
use.
talk more about it, but I had a lot to see. I did find time to take a train up to Amritsar and see the Golden Temple. How do I even begin to describe it? The whole thing is covered in gold and sits in the middle of a huge pool of water. This is where the tradition of langar takes place. Langar is a vegetarian meal that's given to any and everyone who comes to the temple, regardless of their background or beliefs. Just imagine, the Golden Temple provides a free meal to over 50,000 people a day.
Whoa.
And on special occasions, it can feed up to 200,000. I got a free meal too, and it was really delicious. You can volunteer there as well. I did just that because I was in so much awe about the place, I didn't want to leave. What I actually regret is that I didn't get to see the Kumbh Mela in action. It's one of the greatest celebrations of India, and apparently it's a sight to behold. In 2011, so many pilgrims gathered in one place that the whole congregation of 75 million people was even visible from space. This year, it's taking place from January until early March, so if you've seen it with your own eyes, just know that I'm so jealous. In fact, whatever India does, it does it on a huge scale. For example, it has the largest number of post offices in the world. Wherever you go, you'll stumble upon one literally on every corner. The irony of this is that it doesn't really help the situation with delivery times. One Indian guy told me it's totally normal to wait for your package to be delivered in 2 weeks' time, even if it was sent from a nearby town. But hey, patience is a virtue. But it doesn't stop there. India places third in terms of the number of Guinness World Record holders. The world's fastest nose typer, the most expensive wedding ever held, and the most selfies taken together are just a few of the bizarre world records held in this country. What else? The largest railroad network in the world? Check. Well, almost, since the United States does technically have more. But anyway, India has built over 3.5 million miles of railroads, which, considering the smaller size of the country, still means easier transit within and between different locations. With that in mind, it shouldn't really be a huge surprise that Indian Railways is also the largest employer in the world. It has over 1 million employees, and considering the country's extensive railway network, these people are scattered throughout India, from the smallest villages to the biggest cities. The number of jobs grows every year, so it looks like you could always get a job there if you're looking for employment in India. Anyway, what can I say about my final impressions? I was blown away, and I seriously didn't want to leave this fascinating place. Visiting it was like going to a whole new world for me. I tried to get as many souvenirs as I could, but I almost forgot one important thing. If you ever go there, by the way, you'd better remember it too. No one is allowed to take India's national currency in or out of the country. It's actually against the law, so make sure you change your money before you cross the border. I almost made this mistake, but a friendly local told me to exchange my rupees at the airport, and off I went, headed back home with my suitcase full of exotic stuff and my head pulsing with impressions.
That's already the biggest.
Oh.
His accent was interesting. The way he was pronouncing certain words, I'm like, I don't think he's American.
Well,
I don't know what that
have
accent
you
is.
watched videos from Brightside before?
No.
I mean, he sounded like a robot. Like, I don't think that was an actual person. It sounded like a computer. Like, to me, it did, at least.
So you've watched Brightside in the past?
No, I haven't.
Okay, gotcha.
But I just was, like, thinking right away, I was like, is this somebody really, like, narrating this? Or is it, like, a computer saying, like, what was typed?
I think it was someone narrating it,
Yeah?
but, like, I don't know for sure. It was a particular inflection in the voice. I mean, it's entirely possible. When you're doing a lot of these kinds of videos, you get in the habit of just, like, performing it a particular way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it has that sort of cadence to it, where it sounds sort of robotic, because, like, I'm sure that Brightside puts out lots of videos every single day.
Like how, like, newscasters talk. They get stuck.
Well, yeah, well, the newscaster speak is done for a particular reason, because it's neutral. It's a neutral sound, a neutral inflection. That's why it sounds the way that it does. For those of you that don't know, like the news reporters here in the States have a very particular cadence, a very particular way of talking that sounds unnatural as, you know, regular people. That started a long time ago because of different regions of the States or wherever, or Europe, where it was the easiest way to make it accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
That's why.
I love how I didn't know that and I went to journalism school.
I got that from a YouTube video that I watched some time ago, but yeah, like they put out several videos every single day.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's one person. I would imagine that this is a team, like a large team. They're at well over 30 million subscribers, so that's what would make sense to me. I thought that the video was, you know, pleasant, it was interesting, and it was informative. A lot of the stuff-
definitely informative.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff they were talking about I had actually already known, but it's cool to, you know, get familiar with it again.
It's home to the most valuable spice ever, saffron.
The saffron thing was the thing that jumped out at me.
Same. Like, it didn't even really register in my brain, like, how much it cost. And then I was like, oh wait, hold on a second. Like, this is expensive.
Yeah, I bought saffron once because I heard it was like, it's very tasty. It's this little tiny thing. I might even, let me see.
Like, if you have something in the restaurant, like at a restaurant with saffron, does that like up the price? I'm sure it does. I just had no idea it would cost that much money.
Oh, my saffron is Spanish saffron. I think this was $20.
Damn, for that little
For
thing?
this little thing, I think it was 20 bucks.
At Trader Joe's?
Yeah, saffron's very expensive.
And you haven't opened it.
No, I haven't opened it yet.
So they only give you this much. Like,
yeah.
it looks
You don't need much.
empty.
You don't.
Oh,
You don't
okay.
need much.
I don't even actually know if I know what saffron tastes like.
Yeah, you don't need much for it to like be potent, for it to like have like flavor and kick. That's the thing
This
about
looks
it.
like the Mongra. I mean, I don't know if it's different because
It's a Spanish
from
saffron. I don't know.
Spanish
But anyway,
or from Spain.
and so
Yeah, that was interesting. If I was planning to go to India for the first time, this would be like a very informative video to watch.
yeah, it's a nice little preemptive thing.
The butter
to,
tea was funny.
It's so thick and creamy. I could drink it by the gallon.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you're a grown up. You know exactly how that
The way he
sounds.
said it too was funny.
You know how that sounds. We're all
Yeah.
grown ups. You know that.
Also, butter tea just makes me feel like I would just gain 10 pounds from drinking it like every day.
It's possible.
There are actually 22 officially recognized languages there.
The languages thing was really interesting. I didn't know that there were that many languages spoken.
He was saying he doesn't know how they communicate with each other. I think that there's a lot of overlap because there's a lot of Indians who speak English. There's a lot of Indians who speak Hindi. Those are the two of the, I think, if I'm not mistaken, two of the biggest languages in India. A lot of people are bilingual and trilingual in India. Like, they speak multiple languages. That's how they're able to communicate with each other, I think. Bilingual at the very least.
Stock footage.
Yeah, some of the stock footage was interesting to me. It was well put together, and it's like all the transitions and stuff, and like it flew by. Like, I didn't feel the 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
No.
Like, it moved quick. Kudos to the editor for doing all those transitions and whatnot and putting a wide variety of stock footage in there. There were some stock footage choices where I'm like, why did you pick that?
Like, it was like something happy, and then the guy's like,
Upset, yeah. It was peculiar. The thing that took me by surprise was the, what's it called, the Langar? The narrator said that he volunteered, but I watched another video that talked about how volunteering, like, you're on that waiting list for a long time because so many people want to volunteer. So it was actually surprising to me that he was able to, assuming he's just a traveler and like not there for very long, you'd have to wait a considerable amount of time to be able to volunteer, unless they were just like, oh, well, you're white or you're a guest. We know you're not going to be in the country for long, so we'll like move you to the front of the line or something. I don't know, like
he really is a robot, and this is just you know, like an imaginary trip that he's describing.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's possible.
And now I want to watch more of these Brightside videos because I think with the stock footage and the inflection, just kind of made me feel like, oh, maybe this isn't a real person.
Yeah.
But then maybe I'm, you know, an asshole, and here I am saying, that guy sounds like a robot.
Yeah.
It shouldn't really be a huge surprise that Indian Railways is also the largest employer in the world.
The thing with the railroad system being one of the biggest employers in the world, I had no idea. That's new to me. How big the railway system is, I should have known that. I didn't know that until this video. You see that all the time in Indian films.
Yeah, you
like,
do.
The train systems and whatnot, like trains being used and whatever. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact that it's probably one of the biggest employers of India.
Yeah. Definitely. I didn't know the thing about the rupees either.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what are they gonna do to you if you try to take like a rupee? It's so small in value. Like, what would they do if you tried to take a single rupee note out of the country?
I don't know.
But anyway.
Now I'm scared.
Yeah. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that. Be sure to check out Natasha on the social media. I am Jaby Koay. This is
Natasha Martinez.
Peace out.